No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, our relationship is always agree to disagree and work civilly together, and that's what I fully intend to do here today. But I do disagree. I think this committee has jurisdiction over this, and we have to exercise that jurisdiction of oversight. And I don't think we've had one document produced to this committee, and now the administration's not even working with the SIGAR, the Inspector General, and they certainly didn't work with me when we conducted this report on a strategic failure. But over a year ago, we did really watch in horror as the 20 years of blood, sweat, and tears of the United States and NATO came crumbling down in Afghanistan almost overnight. And I think that was shared on both sides of the aisle. I believe in spite of Doha, which was a conditions-based agreement, this decision to unconditionally withdraw led to the failure. In May of 2021, Ambassador Crocker and I warned them, quote, "It is very likely the Taliban will try to take control of the country," end of quote. And we strongly urged President Biden to urgently establish a plan to protect U.S. national security and bring our Afghan partners and allies home, or at least to safety. Unfortunately, we now know the State Department and SC did very little to prepare. The IC warned us, the Department of Defense warned us, but the State Department and the White House seemed to be in a different time and space. At the time the country fell, only 15 consular officers were in the country. 1 week into the evacuation, that number only rose to 36. The administration waited until the end of July to begin evacuating Afghan allies who fought alongside our troops. Because of this delay, only 1,962 SIV applicants and their families were evacuated before the country fell. And now we have almost 100,000 left behind. No one left behind is what we talked about. We told them we would protect them, and they trusted us. And we left them behind to the mercy of the Taliban. And the reporting I'm getting is horrific. And only 25% of the women got out, and Americans were left behind. The request for military assistance and planning for an evacuation really didn't even come till August 11th, 4 days before the Taliban would encircle the city of Kabul. The ambassador to Afghanistan, Ross Wilson, took a vacation at that time, same time. That being General Miller, the U.S. commander on the ground in Afghanistan, was warning of the rapid loss of district centers. When they told us when they pull the air power out, when we do, the country would fall. And then President Ghani left like a coward, unlike President Zelensky in Ukraine. That was also when the United States military officially left Bagram Air Base, which we know conducted ISR capabilities in Russia, China, and Iran. And as a result of this failure, the emergency evacuation that followed forced tens of thousands of people to flee to the one remaining place with U.S. troops, and that would be HKIA, or the Kabul airport. And then for 15 horrific days, we watched as Americans and Afghans alike desperately tried to get inside the gates and on the plane for freedom, some even grabbing onto the wheels of the airplane. But the chaos both outside and inside the gate made it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get inside. As a result, outside groups composed of veterans, journalists, congressional offices, and even active military duty and intelligence officers banded together to help people they had worked alongside for years. And then the unthinkable happened, because we had to put the Taliban in charge of security around the perimeter of HKIA and in charge of the evacuation. An ISIS-K terrorist was then able to get close enough to the airport to detonate a bomb that killed 13 U.S. service members and more than 160 Afghans, and injured another 45 U.S. service members and countless other Afghanistans. It was the deadliest day in Afghanistan since 2011. he was able to get that close because, again, we were relying upon the Taliban to provide security at the airport. And we learned later that the administration was offered a chance to secure the city ourselves. But the offer was sent to the White House, and the State Department ignored that request and declined. 1 year later, the State Department has confirmed that more than 800 Americans have been evacuated since the departure, and recently told us another 200 still remain there. The American people, quite honestly, Mr. Chairman, just deserve answers as to how this catastrophic event happened. But the State Department has ignored or denied every attempt that I have made. Many of us on both sides of the aisle fought together to urge the administration to evacuate our partners, Afghan partners, because it was the right thing to do. During evacuation, we worked together to help people get out of the country and into safety, relying on outside veterans groups. It was almost like a Schindler's List. If you're on the list, you get out. If you're not, you don't. And we mourned the deaths of the service members. And I think getting these answers is important. And as I close, Mr. Chairman, I think this is a legitimate exercise. And, when the president said there's going to be no circumstance where you see people lifted off the roof of an embassy like in Vietnam, that's exactly what we saw. So I don't know what was going on in the White House, but I think the American people deserve to know the truth, and I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired.